Well, you might remember the story of Grand Rapids last year. A veteran service dog denied entry into a local bar. The owner later apologized and no charges were ever issued. But it does go to show that a lot of people out there simply don't understand completely our state's service animal laws. So in this week's Know the Law segment, Tom Zine is joining us with a closer look at those important points we're all learning about.
So, interestingly, this really has to do first more with constitutional law than it does with anything else. And you may think, well, what does that mean? Well, service dogs are governed by a federal law called the Americans with Disabilities Act. Everybody's heard of it. And one of the hallmarks of the United States Constitution is what we call the preemptive power of federal law. It means that federal law is the supreme law of the land over state law. So what does this have to do with dogs? Well, service dogs are governed by the ADA, and ADA is a federal law. And so the laws that we are accustomed to on a day-to-day basis, maybe including small business owners, typically are state laws. So I think this is where a lot of the confusion over service dogs comes up, because we're accustomed to our state laws and our local ordinances, and we forget that these service animals are governed by a federal law that has its supreme right over state law. All right, so what does the ADA say? Well, it says that service dogs are those dogs that are trained to help people with a disability. Now, we've seen this trend lately of people having dogs for emotional support or comfort or companionship. Well, you may be able to have one of those dogs, but it's not a service dog within the meaning of the ADA, right? Because again, Americans with Disabilities Act. It's not an Americans for Emotional Support Act, all right? So that when you're talking about a service dog, you're talking about one that is designed to help somebody with a disability. So then people ask, well, do I have to register my service dog? Because again, I'm typically used to having to register my dog. No. Why? Because the Americans with Disabilities Act doesn't require the dog to be registered under state law. So the state can't require registration of the dog. People can voluntarily register their service dog and help identify the dog, which is generally a good idea. So what about this issue of access? Well, service dogs can go anywhere that the public is allowed to go, and this is where some confusion has happened in the past. People think, well, dogs aren't allowed in the restaurant, so service dogs aren't allowed in the restaurant. Remember, this is federal law. Federal law says service dogs are governed by the ADA, and that dogs get to come into public establishments so long as they're service dogs. So, what do you need to know if you're a business owner or someone the dog might come in? You really can only ask, is this dog needed because of a disability? And what is the dog going to do? You can't ask the person, well, what's your disability? Show me a doctor's note. Prove it to me. Now you're running afoul of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, there's a whole separate issue of what happens if a service dog or an emotional support dog injures someone, but maybe we'll cover that on another day.
Interesting stuff. As always, like you said, it came to the forefront just a few months back. Quickly, if people need to learn more about this information?
They can give us a call, West Michigan, 616-301-3333. They can find us online at www.sinusdramus.com or shoot us an email at info@sinusdramus.com.
Interesting stuff. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Derek.